Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The show is about to begin.
Welcome to the podcast, concerts that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and that cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concertsthatmadeus.com.
Alex, you're very welcome to Concerts That Made Us.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
I have to say now, I'm genuinely delighted to get you on the show. I remember catching you back at Rockathon earlier this year, and ever since I've been kicking myself that I didn't get a chance to talk to you on the day, so I'm glad this is finally coming around.
Thank you. Lovely to be here then.
So you guys just released Rebel Rebel, Evil Like the Devil. Holy crap, what a song. I mean, it's constantly stuck in my head. Give us the inside details on it. Spill the beans.
So Rebel Rebel, Evil Like the Devil, that's actually a song that we created last year in the studio. We were working on this song. It was quite like, because our guitarist David, he's quite influenced by Rammstein. And I just had this melody because I wanted to we don't have some sort of at least until now, we didn't have back then a kind of like a chanting song, that people, as you mentioned there before the interview, that gets into your head, and really gets into your head. So I just wanted to kind of have this. I had this idea to build a chanting song that people could sing along, and it's, I mean, I don't know if you haven't seen us live. Yeah, you mentioned there you haven't seen us live, but I mean, playing the song live is just amazing because people get so much into it, man. With the chorus, it's just like we also have a massive a breakdown in the middle, and people just are shouting the chorus. So it's absolutely amazing. And I just we're just kind of like figuring out if the riff that David had was fitting my melody. He changed then the riff to fit the melody, the rebel evil like the devil. And then our drummer Dylan had the brilliant idea to incorporate this some sort of 9-inch nails, some sort of industrial drum beat that is quite you can kind of dance into it, So once we heard the that with the riff and the melody, we were like, oh, this is gonna be a hit. This is it, man. So that was kind of like the creative process. We do rehearse every week in Glasnevin in this place called Pirate Studios and Dublin 9. And the song, I guess, came about into existence in that I don't know, maybe September or maybe a year from now, maybe November, September last year. Yeah, we've been playing this song since September last year, and we finally got the chance to record that this year, and now it's out. Yeah.
Man, that's a bit of a wait now to get it from your live set to actually being released. But how did you guys approach the recording and the production?
Well, we have a friend in. We didn't actually for this one. It's funny because we do work a little bit on the pre-production of songs with our Bulgarian friend and producer, and we did that for this one, and we went just straight into the studio. And once our producer just heard it, he was like, "Whoa, you guys know what you want, and let's just record this." And he's very actually. I mean, the production of the song is top notch, man. I mean, not to say anything bad, but in the past, in 2022, we were approached by renowned producers, Mark Needham from The Killers and other lads there, looking for kind of like an easy fix, and we were I mean, the name, Mark Needham is just he produced The Killers, and this other guy, I don't remember the name, he produced another band, and our man, our guy from he's based here in Dublin. He has a lovely studio there in Dunboyne, and we were like, we're gonna go with this guy because he understands our sound, understands, I mean, what we want to achieve, you know. So it was great, you know, going to the studio. We've recorded another 4 songs that we haven't released yet, but we just went there. It took us like maybe around 2 months, you know, to finish everything, the drum tracks, everything. But yeah, man, very, very happy with how things went, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not surprised. And usually how do you approach songwriting? Obviously this one was from the concept it was to get people moving and everything, but normally how do you approach writing songs? Where do you find your inspiration?
Well, I have actually a book here. It's a very famous poet, um,
Ah,
Arthur Rimbaud, a French poet from a cursed poet from the list of cursed poet like Baudelaire and Rimbaud. And I love poetry, man. I mean, one of my biggest inspirations actually is, you know, during the nights I like to. My brother gave me a whole compilation of poems last year from Allen Ginsberg, a really known poem of the Beat Generation from
hmm.
the early 40s. You know, Jack Kerouac also. This lad from Naked Lunch was his name, and William Burroughs and Edgar Allan Poe. And like, I love poetry. I love, yeah, I guess I love mythology. I love Greek mythology, any sort of like, you know, Celtic mythology. I'm not that much aware, or kind of like, I don't have much of a big background in Celtic mythology. I'm actually learning now, living here in Ireland for the past 4 years. But I guess inspiration is just, I don't know, man. Like, it's easy. I mean, it's not easy to say, because if I want to sit down at night and just say like, oh, I want to just write a piece of you know, a lyrical thing, and then, you know, put some music in it, whatever. It doesn't come that way. You know, it's more of like going out for a walk. And then, for example, yesterday I just wrote a poem. I was going to the gym there, and the moon was absolutely beautiful. I'm actually obsessed with the moon and you know, starlights and moon nights. You know, and I just wrote a poem about the moon. And I think just the creative process just comes like, just, you know, walking yourself and being yourself. You know, and I maybe on a yeah, any sort of random night, and going on a walk, or after having maybe conversations with people that, you know, that they kind of like are interested in the same things that you're interested, or different things that you experienced, and then you just throw up everything down in paper. And I think that's the way that works for me. I'm the lyricist, and the I write lyrics, the melodies for the band. And yeah, I guess that's how the creative process works in my head, you know.
I like it. I like it. And it's a nice segue. The tagline for the band, I love it. A poet and 3 rock and rollers. So I suppose you better tell us, how did Break Loose come to be? What's the story behind the band?
Well, it's been a I guess well, it's been a tedious, I wouldn't say tedious, it's been a long process. I mean, we've been going on since 2019, and then we reassembled in 2021, you know, after the pandemic and so on. We got new members. But I came here from Venezuela back in 2018, and then I started in BIM, this institute in Francis Street. I think I find it very proactive, the institute. And after doing songwriting course, and I think what was the other one, vocals, yeah, I just left. And then I just, you know, started to look for people, man, to form a band, a rock band, to just, you know, kind of like have a bit adding, you know, I had the idea to form this band because I'm quite inspired by bands such as, you know, the Doors and bands, you know, just Misfits and things like that, that they incorporate different elements. In the Doors, they add like spoken word poetry or songs. And I wanted to form a band, kind of like that. I'm a lot into theater, so I started looking for members. Then we started these shows, and then that's how Break Loose came about. We played. I mean, we played so many shows in Dublin, and then around Ireland in 2019. Pandemic happened, and then, you know, things, you know, changed. I Unfortunately, it's hard. People maybe don't realize this sort of things, but it's hard to get the right sort of people in terms of. I am more, because look, I play a little bit of guitar, you know, but I'm more what would be a poet, lyricist, and I have just melodies in my head, and I just tell the lads, kind of like the way things go, and then they kind of like follow me, and then they create things, but it's hard to find the right sort of people in terms of like mindset, because you can find this amazing guitarist that plays everything, but he doesn't play the simple sort of things, and he doesn't have the mindset to continue, to keep going, man. This is a long-term journey, man. This is a journey that we want to have for the rest of our lives in terms of imagine break loose in 10, 20 years, like it's a thing that you have to kind of like envision for who could you be in terms of touring and albums out, etc., touring around the world. That's a thing that's going to take time, so people want to expect kind of like a short-term success, and it's not like that. And after a few years of different members sacking, I guess, different people, because I don't know, I guess I'm really into more of a attitude guy in terms of if you have the attitude, you want to put the hard work, you want to, because it's not only it's about the art. It is about the art, but it's just not only like you need to know about like your business mentality. You need to know about like aesthetics, because people like to be as Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead said, you want to go to a show, you want to see a rock star, you want to be inspired by that. You don't want to go into a show and see, I don't understand, I mean, no offense, all these indie bands or whatever that they go into a show and they're like in their pajamas. I'm like not into that, because then I want to see a guy or girl, whatever, that looks like amazing. I'm like, whoa, this is why I inspired to and that's what got me eventually into rock music, seeing that energy live. And going back to the question, it's we started 2021, and now 2019, 21, we reestablished or reassembled new members, and then now we released a couple of songs, and man, it's doing great so far. And music scene here is buzzing. We played in London a few times, and we're going to go hopefully the end of the year and next year also to play other shows. We're working with this promoter there, and see what happens, man. But so far so good. I don't know if that I answer your question.
No, you did.
You
did. Perfect. Something that I'm intrigued by, and I'm sure the listeners are the same, especially the ones that know the band. You done motocross back in Venezuela, but were you active as a musician back then as well?
No. I was always into music. I mean, motocross. It's back in the day when I was a kid, I grew up with punk rock music. Listening to NoFX, Crazy Town. Well, Crazy Town is not even punk rock, but like, all these British rock bands, and like, I mean, I was always like, I remember going into the races and going into even the weekends. I used to practice, take my bike, pump that up in the pickup, and then go to the track and just like get into that adrenaline rush by Slipknot, listening to Type of Negative, Danzig, all this, The Cold, whatever, all these huge bands, and then getting that adrenaline rush in the track, in the races. And then I guess once I stopped doing that, I was like, well, I need to transform, or I need to kind of like, I don't know, I need to find something similar. And I found that in rock music and performing rock music. So I guess that's how I got into, I guess, singing and then becoming a fronting a rock band. But what was the question? Or
were you active as a musician back in Venezuela?
Oh, sorry. No, not at all. I did have before I left, because there was a crisis, a terrible crisis that happened back in 2000 when I was there, 2015. I was in Doors. We did a show, two shows actually, with my brother. We were in it was like the Doors and the Strokes. We did a cover of the Strokes, and then five covers of the Doors Strokes cover band. We did two shows. That was my first two shows, and then that was it. And then I just came to Europe. Yeah, but no, I definitely never. As I told you, I play a little bit of guitar. I'm now doing some guitar lessons online, and but no, I was not active at all as a musician.
Right. And the Irish music scene then, what's it like for a band trying to get recognition and break into the scene? My listeners obviously get insights into the music scene in America, South Africa, other countries, but weirdly enough, for an Irish podcast, I rarely give them insights into the Irish scene. So can you tell us all about it?
Yeah, I mean, from my, I guess, perspective of or the, I guess, short experience that I have so far since, I guess, maybe 2019. So that's been what? That's been what? 5 years, I guess. Yeah,
Mm,
years ish.
four,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, I absolutely. I mean, I love Ireland, man. Like I've been here. I say to people, even to my little bird that I have there in my gaff. I say to her, like, I'm from Dublin. I'm a proper Dublin. I actually love the people, the culture, how like friendly people are here. I love Guinness, man, and I love even like I back then in the pandemic, I was listening to the Dubliners, and when I mean playing water for different places, like I'm amazed in how many good bands, especially outside of Dublin, there are. Man, the scene is buzzing. There's bands and like you wouldn't imagine like bands in any sort of genre, like especially like I'm not talking about like hip hop, pop, or any other sort of genres. I'm talking about live bands, either rock, any sort of like rock, metal is huge in Cork, and there's a great scene like of kind of like alternative rock bands in Waterford. We're actually going to play Galway this year. Band there contacted us and through Instagram that they love our stuff and they invited us to play a gig there. So we're going to go play in Galway. But I think the scene is for any sort of band that you want to start and you want to kind of like get your name out there. It's great. You got great places, especially here in Dublin. The lads, from Fear McGee's, they're great. I will say that Fear McGee's, I mean, it's the best, one of the best live pops in Dublin in terms of their mindset of taking in bands and any sort of bands and like giving them that exposure. There's other venues that we played, Works Man's, it's more of a, I guess, a specific show that you try to sold out, promote that for 3 months. That we did that 2021 and this year. But there's also Whelan's. Whelan's more like, okay, what sort of, genre are you playing? Are you more, if you're a death metal, whatever, they're like, no, this is not for you, the place for you, which is a bit like, because then a band, I don't know, Behemoth or not Behemoth, but any other, maybe not that well-known bands come from Sweden or wherever, and they were playing Whelan's, and we're like, oh, what the. But I mean, the scene is absolutely buzzing, man. I'm amazed. I've been amazed in terms of such a small country, in terms of also population. Dublin is like 1 million people, and it's great to see how many bands are out there. And we were play a gig 2022 in Tralee with this lads from I think what's the name of the band? The Last Vinci, or I don't remember the name of the band, but it's great, man. It's I absolutely love it, and it's good because bands, I guess, in a way, bands help each other to kind of like break through a little bit out there in the local scene. We are kind of like, I guess, quite established now in the local scene. Apart from that, to be able to break through and break out of Ireland, I guess you need to, as every musician does, you need to get outside of Ireland because it's quite small, But that is another thing. I guess you need to start working with an agency, get a booking agent, and start investing money. We were gonna do a tour actually last year. A promoter from Alice in Chains Alice in Chains back in the early '90s. Imagine that. He
Yeah.
got in touch with us and he wanted to bring us, to the States, and we are like, oh, that's absolutely amazing. He was like, okay, it's 30K, $30,000, and we're like, what? We're like, what? Like, we're like, well, thank you, but like, I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't released our album, so that's a thing we're gonna do in the future. But it's just a lot of money. But to answer your question, it is Boston. It's a great scene and plenty of places to play. Just if you have a band, any sort of band starting, just get in touch with with venues, promoters, get in touch with bands, get in touch with people. I mean, not market, what you call it, like network your band, and I guarantee you'll have great time here in anywhere in Ireland.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually touched on something very interesting there. The price, because I know people outside the scene or just average music listeners probably think, oh, a band just has to get discovered and that's it. They're shoot to stardom. But they don't realize that, like, I work with a couple of companies now in the States and in the States and South Africa and stuff like that. And they will market your band and sign you to a label. But like what you don't realize is you have to pay a ton of money for the exposure and everything for those guys to do that, you know? And it's something that I think when you're just getting into the music industry or even just a listener, you don't realize. You're a little naive about it, you know?
Yeah,
It's
100%.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy, 100%. And people sometimes don't realize ourselves. I mean, we've made ourselves we've made a name of ourselves out there in the local scene because I mean, myself and the lads, we've spent a lot of money, man, in promoting the previous songs. Yeah, I mean, doing a music video. Now we're gonna do another music video. Sometimes people don't realize that that's like, you know, doing a music video, that's at least a minimum of 1K, 1,000 euros, and promoting the song, and then working with an agency. You know, agency asks money, you know, so it's all, you know, throw and see then what will be the what you can get out of it, you know. But yeah, it is hard, man. It is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah,
Upcoming band.
exactly. And before we get on to concerts then, what would you say is the biggest challenge you guys have faced as a band, and how did you overcome it?
Mm. Biggest challenge so far, I will say it is still a challenge for us at the moment, man. It's finding a booking agent, and also kind of like breaking through and getting the right contacts here in Ireland to get you, because we've seen, for example, this lad, what was the lad, a booker in Worksmans, he was playing Electric Picnic, and he was like, man, like, why weren't you guys playing here? And I was like, I don't know. I've tried to reach out to promoters in Electric Picnic, and it's like, I mean, it's hard to I mean, the challenge for us is finding the right booking agent. There's some, because here in Ireland, as I was saying, it's a small country. There's Aiken, which is a big agency, promoter agency, and there's MCD. You know, they have all the market, you know, and they bring all the big bands, and it's hard, you know, for us to kind of like getting those any contacts from side that they can. For example, Blackstone Cherry came and played last night in the academy. We were like, I was sending me emails like, hey lads, I mean, like, you're running this gig, you know, would you consider us for even like, I don't know, maybe minutes to get a slot to open for Blackstone Cherry? And that didn't happen. It's just so I guess that the challenge for us is just once you get into a level in which you are like an underground level, you are established locally in your genre or in the music scene, then I guess breaking through finding the right booking agent that can get you the kind of like that exposure that's like the next level, you know, in terms of like, you know, booking you for big festivals, you know, supporting a band that's going to tour around Europe, or even some sort of bands like the Darkness and the Cult are coming here both on November and December this year. So I'm aiming to kind of like, you know, push to get those shows, even like, you know, opening like, you know, 5 songs, three songs, you know, for them, for the Cult, for our idols, you know, for that. So I guess that the challenge, our challenge right now for us is find the I guess the right, maybe you can call it, you know, booking agent, manager, or even a label that can help us with gigs. Because I do all the rest of the things. You know, we upload our music into our distributor. We use a distributor from New York called Sparta Distribution. They distribute our music, and we promote our stuff. You know, I work with all the social media, Instagram, the TikTok, all the different things. We got a website, everything like that. So now it's just finding the right guy who's just like, okay, look at this lads, like they're you know, they're very like serious and committed to their art. So let's help them out with, you know, getting them shows or some tours to kind of like break through the local scene. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully it'll happen this year anyway, because you guys should be on the radio every day, you know, especially in Ireland. But we'll get on to concerts. As a concert goer now, what concerts would you say have made you?
I mean, that's such a difficult question. Like, I mean, I guess the thing to say will be, yeah, you know, go into Metallica and go into Guns N' Roses, last year, Crew this year, you know, and all the big bands that I saw from South America and in Venezuela, Soda Stereo, a big Argentinian band, and all this Santana that I saw in the 90s, you know, I was like blown away. But it's funny because I've seen, you know, bands that they're very niche bands. Like for example, this lad's stoner rock band that I saw in the Voodoo launch when I came here in Ireland. I think they're still going. I don't know if they're still going. Called Orange Goblin, and I was like totally amazed by the band, and that was one of my favorite concerts because the frontman the mic broke, and he just threw the mic to the crowd, and he was just having a ball, you know, having the crack.
Yeah.
And he was spitting out kind of like Till Lindemann does in terms of water, and then spitting out water. And I kind of like incorporated that into the Break Loose show. Not that I'm actually directly spitting water to people, it's just spitting up into myself, you know, into the city. And I think looks really cool, you know. Kind of like Marilyn Manson sort of thing that he does. Yeah, but I will say that because I mean I've been to a lot of concerts, man, throughout the years. I mean, even back in the day in Venezuela, I've seen 2 times Metallica. I haven't actually seen I mean, obviously, I would love to. I don't know if that's maybe one of the next questions, but I would have loved to, you know, I guess travel back in time and see the Doors live in New York in Madison Square Garden. But yeah, that's not gonna happen, you know. Same as, you know, Type of Negative, not gonna happen. Velvet Revolver, you know, didn't have a chance to see them, not gonna happen. What else? The Cold are coming, so hopefully I can see them this year, either playing with them or if not, getting, you know, to see Ian Astonbury. And but yeah, I guess that will be my, I mean, I don't know, my answer. That like any sort of, I love punk rock gigs because it's an absolute mess.
Mm.
So if you really want to get into like the crowd, they're amazing sort of rock punk bands to go. And what are the gigs like? I don't know, man, like so many gigs. That's such a hard question. Like, yeah.
It's a good list. It's a good list. You've named some top class bands there. And now the part we're all looking forward to, your own gigs. For any listeners that haven't caught any of your gigs, give us all the details. Lay it out first, the full experience.
Okay, there's experience will be very theatrical, very interactive with the crowd. I always say that, you know, as I always say this phrase, that we live and die in the blink of an eye. So I tell the lads, the audience, so we're gonna die today for you, you know. In terms of, you know, I usually love throwing myself out into the floor and absolutely kicking my knees or my head. I even broke my forehead in water for once, and absolutely giving everything, you know. And I love the incorporation of, you know, of faces, of like, you know, not crazy phases, of like the dynamics of like bringing things up, bringing things down. We do some sort of like shamanistic in between. In one of our songs called In Flames, we do this like I say that I'm some sort of like preacher, that I start kind of preaching this long poem called Reptilian Possibilities that I wrote a couple of years ago. And yeah, it's quite energetic. We all go absolutely crazy. We're quite tight as a band because, you know, I'm really like I'm really, you know, focused on rehearsals, and like not myself, also that's where, you know, we always want to deliver. It doesn't matter if it's for 2 people or 30,000 people. Hopefully, we just need to, you know, every time, you know, because like this is what we do, this is what we love to do. So we need to absolutely kill it every time. It doesn't matter who we're playing for, what sort of gig we're doing. So it's that, and you will expect from our Break Loose gigs, you know, great energy, I guess, great, you know, great riffs, great songs, spoken word poetry, and having the crack, having the laugh, interacting with us, singing our songs, especially this one now, Rebel, Rebel, Evil Like the Devil. And what else? Myself falling into the floor, and unexpectedly, because people will be like, "Oh, people like there was a gig we were playing in Chennai, and people stand up. We're like, oh my god, you know, I thought that the singer had a heart attack, and it was just myself, you know, falling into the floor because I I guess, copied that or took that from frontmen such as I think Jim Morrison and Bon Scott back in the day used to do that. and yeah, man. So it's every time we play also for your audience, every time that you're listening now, every time we play. It's every time we play a show, it's you wouldn't expect to play and for us to do the same thing. We always try to just for every show we're playing, we do something different. Even like I really like to go because we're a rock band, and I really like to kind of like live the moment and experiment bit of like with the spoken word poetry or kind of like with the different theatrical things that I do. Maybe I do something a little bit different every show. So if you come to a Break Loose show, you will definitely be expecting a great live rock band and having the time of your life, man.
Sounds like one hell of a night. Yeah, I have to say now, just one off the cuff, Jim Morrison and the Doors have come up a couple of times now so far. Where does this love for them come from?
Well, it's a funny story. As I like poetry, I think I was reading an article when I was like, maybe it's funny, man. First of all, well, actually, my a guy that I used to, I think I haven't heard from him. Actually, never heard from him again. In Venezuela, when I was like 10 years of age, he gave me a CD, The Very Best of the Doors. And I looked at the cover at the front part, and I was like, there was just Jim Morrison like that, and I was like, whoa, what's this? This looks very like interesting. I just put it in my wardrobe, and I'd never. And then when I was like maybe 18, 19, I took the CD and started listening to it, and I don't know, man. I guess like. Before that, I think it was around 2021, because before that I was in Venezuela. I was into experimenting because I was a lot into meditation. I did motocross, but I was also like mad into, I guess, experimenting with consciousness, marijuana, LSD, and then once, I was a huge acid head back in the day in terms of I actually haven't done mushrooms yet, but acid it's quite dangerous because it's just can actually like damage your
switch.
Yeah, your brain temporarily, because it's I don't know. There's a lot of things in there that I'm actually not even aware of, but I was a lot into acid and poetry back in the day, because I used to I guess in between seasons, and even before preparing myself for the motocross season. I remember one year I fractured my arm over here and my leg, and I was just 6 months just being able to do anything, no exercise, no nothing, and I started listening to the Doors, and I was like, it just absolutely changed my I guess musical perspective forever, And so because the Doors is just not, people, associate the Doors with Jim Morrison. It's not just Jim Morrison. The Doors is as every band, Queen, whatever. It's a whole thing. And like, I was just absolutely amazed by Ray Manzarek's ability to play, bass with one hand and the keyboard with another hand. Such a blues then approach in terms of such a short career in 5 years, releasing so much albums. I guess the quality of the material that they put out there. And I was just totally amazed by it. And obviously listening to that, either smoke pot or taking some micros, an acid, or taking half a tab of acid, I was just absolutely blown away. Songs like, when the music is over, that phrase, cancel my subscription to the resurrection. I took that and put that on In Flames, which I say in Flames, that spoken word poetry part, basically not copied from, basically took that from it. I say there's no resurrection, there will be no fucking resurrection. And songs as The End, my brother's a huge film head in New York, Apocalypse Now, like watching that and like, yeah, man, that I think that's one of my top bands and top favorite bands ever. So I think that comes from back then, just blown away by listening to them,
Yeah, I totally get it. Like that myself from an early age. I was deep into the Doors and Jim Morrison, his poetry, the music, everything. I was like a sponge, just soaking it up. Even now, he's like, they're my go-to. I'll always go back to the Doors. But
what's your favorite track? What's your favorite
My favorite track, that is a good one. I think it is not to touch the earth, but it's the live version, you
Live
know?
version.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
the studio version is good, but it doesn't have the same energy. And I feel like it's the one track where you can really hear his voice come true to what it's supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the wildness. But I was going to ask you, well, what's your favorite Doors track then?
Um, I love when the music's over live also. I think they have great recordings from that 1970s January, I think 28th of January, 27th of January from that New York show. I think there's a live, even in YouTube, you can see Crawling King Snake, quite a blues like that version of that live version. But the best Doors track, Jesus, I love Peace Frog. I know. I mean, all the classic ones. Roadhouse Blues, Light My Fire, Love Me Two Times. But I think they're I think one of their masterpieces is even that 1968. I don't know if you've seen that video on YouTube that they did in Sweden that they're like in black and white that they're performing. I love. I love. I think will be when the music's over, man. I think that will be one of my favorite Doors track. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't blame you now. I love his voice on that. Yeah, it's real, just smooth and it's perfect, you know.
Yeah.
And do you guys ever cover any of their songs in your live set then?
Yeah, we do. We did one. We did also one of my favorite tracks, 5 to 1.
Ah.
5 to 1 is absolutely amazing. We did cover that one and Breaking Through. We did kind of like a hybrid between Breaking Through and 5 to 1, same as Hollywood Vampires. This band from Alice Cooper. They also do kind of that thing where we're like, oh, this lads, they do this thing. We saw a concert, Johnny Depp singing that, and I was like, what the? Let's do this. And yeah, we do. We do also. We did an amazing cover, kind of like a step down or strip down, better say, version of Thin Lizzy. Don't Believe a Word. And what other covers? We do a great cover of Rebel Yell, Billy Idol. Absolutely love Billy Idol. I forgot to totally mention him. One of my biggest inspirations, Billy Idol. And Wicked Game, the HIM Finnish version of kind of like, well, I guess Wicked Game is Chris Isaac, but we do take, I guess, Rock It Up, same as HIM from Finland, they used to do. And also HIM, huge inspiration, Ville Valo and all those lads. Absolutely adore that band. But yeah, the Doors covers will be, we did 5 to 1 and 5 to 1 and Breaking Through. Yeah. Cause we don't have a keyboardist. So it's sometimes can be, hard to
replicate it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And back to your own gigs then, if you think about every gig you've played so far, is there one that sticks in your mind as maybe the most perfect night you've had?
Yeah, it's funny because like sometimes as a musician, maybe other musicians they think the same as me, and that once you have a gig, I usually kind of like just go for it, and go for it, and like because every gig, things happen. Our guitars in Rockathon last year, the amp blew up. We're like, oh my god, what's going on? Then sometimes playing Fevers or even we play a gig in the Grand Social, the sound was like, oh, the sound guy was like, I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, what's going on here? Like, it was absolutely terrible, but it's just every gig is a surprise, but I guess it's a learning experience, and once you not envision, once you see yourself, I mean, you look back and you see all the gigs that you played, and you're like, they're all of them are perfect in a way, because you're there, you're in the moment, in the I guess the eternal present moment. You just absolutely there, merge absolutely into the moment. So, but answering your questions, sorry, I think the perfect gig in terms of a gig that like I absolutely adored was the gig that we sold out coming back from the pandemic, our first gig as the new Break Loose 2021 November, sold out show in the Worksman's downstairs. The crowd was like, I think because people were like not sure if coming to gigs or no because of COVID, that the venues were opening, and I remember doing an Instagram reel and saying, lads, 5 tickets remain, and it was like 150 people, 120 people. That was the sold out to sort it out, and they all came, and it was unreal. That one, I think that one, if not playing 31st of January 2019 in Fear McGee's, that was also a great gig. It was, I never seen Fibers like that. It was, because usually Fibers is busy, but that night was like, I think, people were like this. It was maybe, I don't know, like maybe like 200 people, man. I was just like so packed, and that was a great gig in which we got a great, I guess, exposure in terms of following our people following our Instagram account, same as supporting Aslan, our previous guitarist. He got us a gig in Klein. We opened for Aslan, which is Aslan, it's totally different from the sort of music we do. That was a great gig also, that we got a huge exposure, because we played in front of 400, 500 people, and they were just like, and then I remember meeting our man, lovely fella, Chris de Digman. He was like, what the fuck are you doing, like playing? I mean, he was like, great lad. He was like, it was like, I like your style, lad, like your style. He was like, it's fucking freezing here. And and he told me, like, I think it was either him or I can't remember the name of the fat guy. I think the guitarist, like I think it's, no, it was not. No, I don't know. But he told me, like, you guys are great. What are you guys doing, like, playing with us? I was like, I don't know, man. Our guitar is here in Klein, and he got us the gig. It's like, oh, you're great. So kind of like, I guess, to answer your question, those sort of gigs will be gigs that will remain in my memory,
Yeah. And I always say you have to have the good with the bad. So is there one gig that sticks out as maybe the worst experience you've had, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, actually, the worst gig was the gig we played in. I don't know what happened to that venue. It was in Francis Street. There's the Thomas House in. You're based in Dublin.
No, Waterford.
Oh, Waterford. Oh, deadly, man. We're playing, I'll tell you now the dates, that we're playing Electric Avenue in Waterford on Friday the 10th of November.
I'll be there.
Absolutely love Waterford, man. I mean, for such a tiny little town, there's like a street, and it's like, there's like we're playing in a record store, an acoustic show before, and it's like, it's bustling. It's like, it's mad, man. I absolutely love Waterford. It's
That's a great spot.
Yeah, great spot. Great. Also feels like every time I go, I feel like I'm gonna encounter some sort of, Viking in the river, whatever. But like, 'cause it is a Viking town. I guess it was a Viking. But in terms of bad gig, there was this venue called in Francis Street, Drop Dead Twice. I don't know if it's closed. It's not open anymore. We played there in 2019 for the pandemic, and we played. I think there was I think maybe 5 people playing. 5 people, just 5 or 4 people. Just there was 2 lads having a pint there, and then there was our girlfriends there, and that was it. And we were just playing, and we gave her everything, and then in the middle of the set, the drummer, because he was this huge Brazilian guy, and he broke his sticks, and there was no more sticks.
Right.
And then we're in the almost ending the set, and then we just did the songs without the drums, man.
Interesting.
And but that was one of our worst gigs in terms of experience. But gigs, because pub gigs and small venue gigs, they're always tricky, man. In terms of sound, you just go for it, because like even sometimes the Worksmans. I remember playing Sinead, this venue in Portobello, another venue there. Like, it's just because sometimes you got venues and the roof of the city is quite low, and there's people coming out from this door, and then the sound and like everything is like absolutely a nightmare. But it is what it is. That's the it's a long way to the top, if you want to rock and roll, man.
True. And before you guys get on stage, then do you have any rituals? How do you psych yourself up? And then afterwards, how do you wind down?
That's a good one. Winding down it's hard. It's a hard one. I remember playing this gig for Johnny Rockets. They did a corporate gig in the Button Factory, and we played. That was a great gig, and it was I think one of the biggest gigs we've done so far. And getting down to the backstage, which I absolutely love, the Button Factory. The Button Factory, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great venue. We'll love to have a gig there, man. And we're gonna have a gig there eventually. But backstage, you can see, Bono, and you see all these bands like Lizzie, you see Phil, like you feel like a proper rock star,
Mm.
But coming down was like it's kind of like this adrenaline thing that you just want to keep going, but that's hard, and that's why then you go sometimes, if you have a show the next day, maybe you smoke a doobie and you just eat something and you go and you take it easy, but coming down, then you go, that's why sometimes you go out on a banter, because you're like, you're so hyped for the night that you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, that's what we love, what we do. We're very passionate about but I guess Break Loose is a very passionate band overall, man. I mean, not only myself, David, the new bassist, Juan Hua guy that we just incorporated. He came from Chile, from South America, like myself, and Dylan in the drums, man. We get along well. So before going into the stage, I guess it's just a little kind of like a warm up thing we do, because I usually warm up the voice a lot. And throughout, I remember going to Waterford last year, playing Electric Avenue. I was warming up. I was driving our previous bassist. I was driving him mad because I was just in the road, like, la la, and then he was like, fucking hell, man. But we kind of like, hug each other, and we just say like, break loose, baby. Boom. And you gotta give us like a fist, look at each other, good, go. And then like, I usually start then,
I
that's
like
kind
it.
of like, the warm up for it, and then we are aware, because every rehearsal, I've told this about before, like, and I said it here, we have to give everything, every gig, doesn't matter which
Mm.
gig is. I'll get you a ticket, man, 100%. You come down to Waterford, and you'll see us
I'll be
there,
there.
and you'll be there. Yeah, Friday the 10th of November. Playing
I'll
Waterford.
book it off work the minute this call ends.
With I don't know, the lads from Lithium Lounge, yeah. That punk rock band, Lithium Lounge.
Yeah.
We're playing with them.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Jeez, that's going to be a good night. Yeah.
great lads.
Ah. And the next one, so I'm sure it rarely happens now, but how do you handle criticism or maybe negative feedback towards your music?
That's a good one. Good question. Actually, I was interviewed by a magazine called Emerging Rock Bands. That was, I think it was, no, it was not this year. Late last year, yeah. And the girl was, she was like, oh, love your music. And then she said something that, like, I was like, I actually told her, no, like, you're mistaken. That's not right. She said, oh, but you guys, what do you guys in Ireland? Are you labeled, are you categorized as misogynistics? And I was like, what do you mean by misogynistic? And she was like, yeah, no, I'm misogynistic. That you treat women like shit. I was like, wait. What? I mean, where are you going with? Where are you going with this? Like, that's.
Yeah.
I think. Have you actually Googled or looked the concept in the dictionary of what misogynism or misogynistic actually means? Means that we hate women. I was like, we don't. We're like at all, like minus million% whatever.
Yeah.
We don't hate women, and we actually told her, like, why are you saying this? We're not a misogynistic band. Like, no, because she was saying Motley Crue and all of that. We're like, I don't know about Motley Crue. Motley Crue is Motley Crue. Break Loose is Break Loose. My lyrics, Break Loose, we adore women. We write lyrics about them, about our relationships with women, about like how we, live every day with the women that we love, the women that we're passionate about. Because, like, I mean, I guess it's a great thing to interact with your fans and actually make a song that people resonate. For example, this song that we haven't released yet, but My Love's on Fire is a song about even all those other songs, Sexy Lady, Cosmic Girl, that we have there, trying to tell you about our relationship, that they're about, I guess, dealing with relationships as myself as a man with a woman, So I was like, I don't know where you're going with this, but I think you're totally mistaken. I mean, we're not a misogynistic band. We absolutely embrace women, or any sort of, like, I guess, genre that you want to consider yourself. We were actually going to have before our bassist came into the band, the guy from Chile, we were considering having we did audition her because she was with other bands, and actually she then never replied, but we were looking for a female bassist, and that didn't happen. But that was a tricky one, man, because she wanted to hit there some sort of nail there, and I was like, no, look, you have to actually be quite aware of like what is like, you know, why are you labeling us as misogynistic? Because that's a really, you know, that's it's saying, if like, for example, yourself, oh Brian, your band is, you're a bunch of pedophiles, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like it's a huge
it could end your career, like.
Yeah. And I was like, no. It's like, what are you saying? No, this is not correct at all. And she was like, oh, okay, well, you're right. And I was like, yep, I know.
Jesus, man, that just shows how dangerous though music journalism or music critics could actually be, you know.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Yeah,
crazy. And how do you balance your personal life then with the demands of being in a band?
Well, I mean, personal life, we all have, at the moment, we all have full-time jobs, and it's just, I guess, a balance between, because like, I don't know. I'm really like, at least myself, in terms of, I love exercise. I love to. I mean, actually, once we finish the interview, I'm gonna go to the gym. I love to be in, because as a singer, like, you know, you have to be in great shape, man. Because even like, I mean, if I was like some sort of front man like Dave Grohl, that he also plays guitar and sings, I'll be like, okay, a little bit more chill in terms of being like in a great, I guess, physical shape, in terms of like, you know, I guess in terms of your cardiovascular resistance, whatever, because I'm jumping, doing whatever, shouting, and then like, you know, it's kind of like aerobic.
Yeah, like a workout.
Yeah, like a workout. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, like I think we all, it's just sometimes like it's hard to find balance, but like, look, I mean, I'm not gonna curse, but it's, you know, feck it, you know, feck it, like. It is, in terms of our perspective, like, feck it, it is break loose's number one priority. The rest is just, you know, day-to-day things, diligencies, life things, you know, going to the supermarket, getting your stuff, paying your rent, you know, working, all of that. But like, when it comes down to rehearsing, where it comes down to preparing a tour, where it comes down to releasing music, where it comes down to the band for us is number one priority. So I guess in terms of, you know, balancing that can be a little bit hard, because we need to, you know, I always tell the lads, we need to, I mean, if you want to make it as a band, there, at least for me, it cannot be like, oh no, you know, like this sort of like, you know, total balance between like, you know, like I mean, if you need to be absolutely obsessed with it, and like,
yeah,
go for it for 10 years, like, just like as this guy Charles Bukowski used to say, or even Hunter Thompson from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like, you need to, what's that phrase, like, go for it and let it kill you, like, make, I mean, in, I don't know, like some sort of phrase that like, go after something and be so obsessed with it that let it just, you know, kill you. You will live, and you will end up living a total, like, I mean, at least my perspective, again, total, like, I know you'll be totally satisfied. You wouldn't have any regrets at the end of your life. So it is hard to find balance, because, as I was saying, I do like to exercise, and I do like to, you know, go out for food, and, you know, then after rehearsal, sometimes, you know, after a gig, we drink and all that stuff. That's part of, like, we don't drink in the rehearsals. We used to, but like, not anymore. But I guess, you know, if I was said, I mean, to tell you the truth, like, to say to you, hey Brian, no, we're the most balanced band. No, we're not balanced. It's just all about, like, you know, break loose is the priority. Like, for example, now after we finish the call, I'm going to the gym, but also I'm talking with some other promoters to book some other gigs. Then, you know, tomorrow, like, is the release of the song. So and setting up all those things in either social media, you know, making sure everything's, you know, sharing the song, and working with the agencies that we're working. So it is hard to find balance, but I guess our mentality would be that there is no balance, because, you know, this is our life, this is our priorities, man.
Yeah, so exactly. It never stops. How do you are you able to separate, say, the rock star from the 9 to 5 when you're in your full-time job? Are you able to focus solely on that and not think about the band?
No, No, I think it's myself. I am a rock star. I am a fucking great rock star, and I just visualize myself and think every day like that. And yeah, if I could, to be totally honest with you guys and with you, man, like if I could just quit my, I mean, I don't actually. It's just I give a fact about the band and about living this life and about embracing the rock, I guess the rock star life, which is not the rock star life from back in the 80s. This is not sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You have to, you have to look good. You have to, perform. You have to be at the top of the game, like all your whole career. I mean, people, agencies, labels, they don't want like couple of junkies that then they just like they can't perform because I'm too depressed or I'm too busy drinking alcohol or not not creating my craft or not like nailing my craft. So that's for me how things are. So yeah, I'm 24/7 this crazy rock star. And if I could, quit my job any moment, I will 100%. It's just we haven't done at the moment because Break Loose is not paying rent or food. So once it does, we will definitely be like, to our bosses, whatever, bye, and that's it, and commit this 100%. But at the end of the day, we are apart from that. I am myself. I'm an individual, same as you are. We're human beings. We have, we're here living this, 24/7 reality, this experience, that's been given to us by whoever, by our grandfathers, by, if you believe in God or not, whatever life is about or whatever life is. And yeah, there's this, I guess two faces of my inner nature, my rockstar face, my poetic face, my obsessed face, and then there's also, as yourself, a human being with, I guess things, to do, diligencies, I gotta eat, I gotta take care of myself. And I also, like to, contribute to my friends, my family. You have a family, same as any other, human beings living this moment in history and living, our lives. So I guess those are the two faces, man, of Alex from Break Loose.
I like it. I like it. And before we get on to the final couple of questions, then, future plans that are set in stone, upcoming gigs, more music, lay it all out first. Yeah,
so future plans, we're planning on going abroad next year. I mean, because we're doing a tour around Ireland now, October, November, and December. We're playing hopefully in London. I'm just about to confirm with the promoter. There are 2 days in London. The dates that we have, let me just read that here to you. We have then for in terms of Break Loose gigs, I'm checking here on Spotify. We have so we have Drogheda on the 14th of October. We're playing out Molly's, and then we're playing Dundalk on the 28th. Then we're playing Fear McGee's 31st of October, Halloween night. And then again, we're playing Fear McGee's special night Thursday on the 9th of November downstairs. Then we are doing a gig in, I think, Galway, Friday night. These lads that invited us from this promotion company. Then we're doing Waterford in Electric Avenue. Galway, we're playing Sally Long's and Electric Avenue in Waterford, Friday the 10th of November. And then in Galway, we are playing November the 18th on Sally Long's. That will be Sally Long's, November the 18th. And in the meantime, just about to confirm London, hopefully maybe end of November, London, and hopefully also Limerick. That will be early November, playing there a venue with. I'm just about to book that with this promoter, and hopefully play a end of the year, early December show in Chile with some local bands and bring some lads also From Galway, or some lads from outside, or even the lads from Lithium Launch, man, and Waterford, bring them into Dublin because they've been very good to us, man. Every time we go there, providing us facilitating for us the venue and Electric Avenue, getting Break Loose fans and Lithium Launch fans to go to the gig, getting this acoustic gig before the gig during the day in this record shop in Waterford. I don't know what's the name of the record shop, but those are the plans in terms of gigs. And we have then a music video. We have the single Rebel, Evil Like the Devil, out now. We got a music video that my brother recorded this March this year. It's also going to be released on the 6th of October. So this will be next week, 6th of October, a huge artistic music video for Rebel, Evil Like the Devil. Then we're recording another music video for our next single, which is My Love's on Fire. Kind of like this gothic, very beefy and very melodic HIM type of single that's coming out. That thing that's gonna come out next year, and we have another 2 songs to release, and then hopefully, man, like getting ourselves outside of art and going to London. We got a promoter there that's gonna help us out a few dates, and hopefully by next year record and release the album by end of 2024. Our debut album. So that's kind of like the I guess the panorama, or like the envisioned how things are hopefully gonna happen.
Jesus, he's are definitely busy anyway. It sounds good.
Yeah. That's right. Like this lad said from, I don't know if you've seen this movie, what's the name of the movie? Shawshank Redemption. This man said, you gotta keep busy living or keep busy dying, man.
Exactly. That's it. And you're definitely doing that. Right, we'll dive into the last couple. So these are a few fun random ones, but I'm intrigued to see your answers. I think I know your answers, but we'll see if I'm right. If you could see any performer from history in concert for one night only, who would it be?
Well, it's an obvious answer. Like I would love to see the Doors. The Doors, especially after maybe even like early the Doors, 1967-ish, but maybe a little bit more into their career. 1968 will be a great year, even 1970 to see them. What other performers? I would have loved to see back in the day in Brooklyn, because my brother lives in Brooklyn, and we actually met the promoter from he's retired now, but the guy that used to promote Type O Negative in this bar called Duffy's in Brooklyn. Great bar. I don't know if you've been to New York, but if you go to New York, definitely recommend going to Duffy's. It's a metal bar with photos of Rob Zombie, photos of other industrial sort of bands. They're like any Alice in Chains, like photos, like they all went there. Like it was crazy because New York had previously, back in the day, a huge scene, man. I don't know what happened after the pandemic, but yeah, definitely would have loved to see Type O Negative, Peter Steele. He unfortunately died in 2010, and that guy. Maybe what else? Funny thing, but maybe I think would have been good to see those 2 guys. I guess generally considered by the collective human conscience as the greatest performers throughout history. Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson. Great to see them, yeah. But my personal taste, I think would have loved to see the Doors, and then I think either Velvet Revolver in their early days, or if not, our man Peter Steele from Type O Negative, yeah.
And that'd be one hell of a gig, yeah. And the next one, now this is a bit odd, but if you had to be locked inside a room with any musician from history, who would it be?
Well, definitely not Mick Jagger, man.
Right.
Definitely not Mick Jagger. Yeah, I think I'll get into a fist fight with him probably. But any musician, I think it's musician, or you mean it could be also poet, or maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Any
Any. Well, any person in terms of history, like it could be just anyone, like any maybe Aristotle, or maybe Socrates.
I'll go easy on you. So I normally restrict it to musicians, but anyone in the artistic sort of field, poetry, theocracy, even.
Well, I got this man over here tattooed here.
Oh,
So he's not. I guess where I read a lot about him, and I also got him tattooed here, which is my name, but in ancient Macedonian, Alexander the Great. But he was just a conqueror. But he was. Well, I guess his artistic side, because he carry a copy of the Iliad and the Iliad every I guess throughout his campaign. But yeah, I guess he was not a musician or a poet. But yeah, in terms of mindset, Alexander the Great, I think, is one of the I guess biggest, or even not even biggest, more, I guess, for me, personally, for me, one of the greatest, I guess, men that are, or yeah, human beings, individuals that have existed throughout the history of our human history, and the history of time of yeah, our existence as a species. But in terms of musician poet, I will definitely. It's maybe quite chaotic, because I read a lot about him, and the life that he had was with his partner Arthur Rimbaud, this French poet. He was absolutely chaotic, and again, I would definitely end up, maybe, he either would end up killing me, or I end up in a like, kind of like stabbing each other. But this guy has really changed my way of approaching lyrics, and even the way of like seeing sometimes things, in terms of, when I mentioned there earlier in the conversation, going out for a walk and seeing at the moon or the stars, or seeing at a field there. I live in Clontarf, so I usually go down the seafront towards. There's a lovely place called Happy Out there towards the beach, and I usually go around the evening, or maybe during the weekends. And this guy Arthur Rimbaud, I mean, he actually has absolutely changed me. I mean, as well as I think he changed Bob Dylan, and he changed Patti Smith, and any other sort of like, well, I mean, Jack Kerouac, and all the I guess all the, even like what's his name, all the people that throughout history has read him. I think this lad, if I would like to spend a night with some, or not a night, you said an evening with someone, or
24 hours locked in a room.
Either will be I know Jim Morrison. I mean, he was quite poetic and quite interesting, but I think he was more, I mean, down into earth sort of lad, in terms of like, I think he was a very kind human being, bit of a, maybe a clown, but I was part of his theatrical thing. It was an alcoholic, so that's what killed him at the end. Maybe having a conversation with him could be interesting, but yeah, but I mean, if it was one, I mean, this guy is French, so probably, I mean, I speak a little bit of French, but I guess the conversation has either to be in Spanish or English. I mean, sometimes even French can be really difficult. So yeah, I would say Arthur Rimbaud, but it's, sometimes it's to separate artists from art, or to not separate artists from art, I don't know, because there's no nothing documented from this guy apart from his books, so I actually don't apart from Jim Morrison, I've seen interviews from him. I haven't seen how this, because again, this is art, his poetry is art, so it's a different thing to have a perspective of trying to just see how the guy thought, or who he was, how he walked, whatever, but by reading his poems. So so I'd say, yeah, any maybe Arthur Rimbaud, Jim Morrison, or would be quite interesting to get and have a conversation. I love Jack Kerouac, also too, very chill out, interesting guy, also another alcoholic. So we're probably, any of those lads. Even Rimbaud was a total like crazy guy experimenting with consciousness and drugs that alter your different states of consciousness. So any of those three lads probably will get really wasted and then go absolutely mad in that room, and then see what happens.
Right, right. Sounds fairly dangerous now, I have to say. But you're after intriguing me about him. I think I must get his book, or I must look into more about him. I'm type of person that when I come across someone like that, I kind of need to find out every detail about their life, you know?
Yeah, man. Even right now, like after this thing, go to Google like a poem, which you'll find fascinating. Is on page 31. Is a poem called "Wandering." This is a poem called
Right.
"Wandering," and it's just you put there in Google poem "Wandering" by Arthur Rimbaud. Read that, and you'll be like shit, like the simplicity and the a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid writing that. And I was
Mm.
like, what the hell, you know? But yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. So, right, the final question. So, what song would appear on the soundtrack to your life?
Woo. I love Elton John, man. Elton
Really?
John gets me really emotional. Yeah, my mom is absolutely loves him. When I was a kid, I grew up with Elton John, and my dad studied in Nashville, Tennessee, and in Utah. It was whenever he was a young fella. He brought all this music from the States, all the disco from the '80s, and I think that was incorporated into my subconscious, back in the day when I was a kid. But if I could listen, that will be the track of my life. I love your song by John. It's a song that makes me cry. It's a song that it just puts my hair, my what you call this, puts your nerves
Hmm.
up. Either that one, your song, or if not, you mean also like a song to put like in a funeral or something, or like your life song?
Yeah, you could look at it that way, or say if you were like, if it was a movie of your life, what song would play over the credits?
Mm. Well, that's so hard. Song of your life. Well, to capture all of your life in a song. Actually, I mean, I love the end by the Doors, kind of like a very like song for a funeral. But
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, that's such a hard question, man. I actually would some of Elton John's song, to be honest, songs of his songs. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I don't know, maybe any sort of songs from Elton John, because they're very just that at least for me, he's like the god of music. He's just
Mm.
for me up there in terms of like composition, in terms of melodies, in terms of connecting with your animalistic ears. You're like, whoa. I mean, I don't know anyone that said, I haven't heard anyone that says I don't like Elton John. You're like, what?
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, some people don't like him, but for me, it's like. Then maybe people say I don't like the Beatles. It's like, yeah, okay, because sometimes the Beatles can be just goggle bomb there to spit and whatever. But I don't know, Brian. To be honest with you, I mean, a soundtrack of my life. Jesus, for now, at least that now being in turn 30, I say now. I mean, in my late 20s was currently I loved 5 to 1 by the Doors, but I don't know. I'm just gonna go for your song by Elton John, man. Yeah.
Perfect. Has to be that one. So, listen, Alex, it's been an absolute blast now. I can't tell you how much I've genuinely enjoyed the last hour and bit chatting with you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I mean, too, man. It's been very, like, I guess, easygoing and a spontaneous conversation, which I really like this about interviews. About like, I really absolutely appreciate and respect what you're doing, because it's for me, this sort of like, it's also for me, I see it as an art. This because an interview, man, it's some sort of artistic kind of like thing that like that you ask questions, but you're also we're it's kind of like a conversation that we're
Mm.
having, and it's I don't know, it's you're indicating, or you're going into an individual's, I guess, mind, and trying to just like open the mind and see what's in there.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
great.
exactly what I enjoy doing it. It's not just sitting here doing a podcast. It's trying to get into the musician's mind and see how
Yeah.
it works. That's what I enjoy about it.
It's great, man. I've been following you now. That I mean, since I think was since you saw us in Rocktown, you follow us, I follow you back. I've been checking what you've been doing, and great, man. I mean, thanks for having us, and hope that all your project goes well with the podcast. And thanks again for having me. And
No problem. No problem.
all the break loose, I guess potential fans, check us out in our upcoming new things and tours and new music.
Exactly.
Welcome to the podcast, conscience that made us, interviews and stories, tales from the bus. We love taking you back to when it all went down. The greatest live shows and that cheering crowd sound. It's concerts that made us, concerts that made us.com.